So we will move forward, but there are those 25 games that Ja Morant will not be participating in to start the season. And we also, Keith, you mentioned Tyus Jones, also not there. Marcus Smart is the guy that is on board now and will be very much tasked with filling that void. It seems to me like he's kind of replacing two people. Maybe you can speak to just the Marcus Smart trade in general, what you think he means for this team. Are they asking too much of him? Just give us your take on the Smart acquisition and sort of what will be asked of him, for these 25 games and beyond.
So I think a lot is being asked of him. I think you correctly state, and I've been pointing this out on my shows, where it's like, all right, he's the Tyus Jones replacement. He's the extra ball handler, and he's also the Dillon Brooks replacement. And when Ja Morant suspended, wait a minute. All right, he's the Ja Morant, Tyus Jones, and Dillon Brooks. Like that's a lot for a guy who only plays about 75% of his games. Like
he's also kind of like we always wanted this wing type player.
Yeah.
And he's filling that void that already existed in addition to the ones that were created by departures, the Ja Morant suspension, and the trade itself.
Yeah. So like, I do worry, like if he has to be primary initiator on offense and also guard the best, not like guard, he's probably better at guarding wings than like, your De'Aaron Foxes now anyways, but like, it does feel like we're asking a lot of him. In a broad sense, though, I do like the acquisition of Marcus Smart. Once Ja Morant comes back, I think the acquisition of Marcus Smart over Dillon Brooks, it's going to be I think a big win. I think just having another ball handler and another passer and a guy who can play alongside Ja without, I think, a defensive drop off, actually with a defensive boost. Like, I think one problem that everyone knows the Grizzlies have has been half court scoring. And I do not think it like necessarily adding up Marcus Smart helps with the half court that much, but I do think it gives you another look you can have. And I think he can be more effective than Dillon Brooks was in those situations. And like with Tyus Jones, they liked playing Tyus and Ja together, it seemed like, but I really disliked it. Like I kind of hated it. I was like, we can't guard any like backcourt players when we do this. 2 years ago, they had some really good net ratings when Tyus and Ja played together, but every other year when they played together, they just got destroyed on defense. And it's like, I don't care. Like if you post a 120 offensive rating, that's great, but like we're giving up 130 and it's like that just we're losing every time. And it doesn't take like a, stats and numbers lie, but it's like, well, that matches my eye test. We can't contest any 3-pointers because everyone on our perimeter is like 6'2" or something. And so I think the acquisition of Marcus Smart should help the team a lot when fully healthy. You get someone who can replicate, I think, Dillon's defensive strengths. But I think one thing Dillon was really bad at is like maybe like you think of him as like a nitty-gritty player, but he's actually really bad at like rebounds, chasing down loose balls. Like he's good at navigating screens. He's good at one-on-one defense, but like, he's bad at offense, and then he's bad at actually rebounding too. And we saw a lot of when Steven Adams went out, this team went from the elite rebounding team to, hey, they're actually bad at rebounding. And a lot of people saw it watching the FIBA World Cup. You're like, oh, Jaren is not a good rebounder. And I don't know why Steve Kerr and the Team USA was like, what if we surrounded a one bad big rebounder with a bunch of guards who are also not good at rebounding? What if we just blame that all on Jaren for not getting rebounds? But I digress. Marcus Smart, like he's pretty solid. He's a rebounder, but he's like the hustle guy, and he's like the deflections, the steals, the blocks. And I do think the Grizzlies defense is going to be great. I think it actually could be better than it was even with Dillon Brooks, with Marcus Smart in the fold. Before though, to like go back to the suspension part, it might be a little bit rocky because you are asking Marcus Smart to do quite a bit with the loss of Tyus Jones, Dillon Brooks, and also, oh, by the way, Ja Morant.
Was this like the guy that you would have in Smart that you would have wanted them to consolidate some of their assets into? Or do you think that this might have been more influenced by, the Ja Morant suspension? Like now we kind of need to check this other sort of box rather than just going to get not a Brooks replacement or just someone on the wing who can play with both Bane and Ja at the same time. Like with Smart, if you would have maybe not someone you identified, I don't think a lot of people thought he was available until the actual trade went through. Would he have been someone that you would have wanted on the Grizzlies' radar if they were looking to make that consolidation trade?
Okay, so to answer, I'm going to answer part of the question. Like Was the Ja Morant suspension, like, did that weigh in their decision to target and pursue Marcus Smart? I would say absolutely not. Just under the very simple, like, you would not trade Tyus Jones if you were considering the Ja Morant suspension. Like, you just flat out wouldn't do it. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And so I think no, I don't think the suspension weighed in at all. Like, maybe they said we have to get at least somebody who can dribble a basketball, but I don't think that had any factor. I think they got Marcus Smart for how Marcus Smart fits when Ja Morant is back, and they're focusing on the playoffs. They've had a ton of regular season success the past 2 years, and I think they knew 2 years ago, they're like, all right, I don't totally trust our 56 wins. We're maybe not totally built for the playoffs. And like, they made some theoretical moves, like these are better archetypes of players for the playoffs. I thought they were horrible moves because you're like, yeah, Jake LaRavia in theory is maybe like a postseason player, but like, he's an unproven rookie. And so like they got a bunch of rookies last summer. So I think Marcus Smart continues the idea of like, this is a postseason guy we can depend on. This is a guy with experience, late rounds of the playoffs. And he does provide some extra ball handling while also not sacrificing our perimeter defense. Now, the very first part of your question, you're like, was this the right guy for the consolidation trade? As a fan or an analyst or a fanalist, if you will, the trade for Marcus Smart, like, I like it. And I think Marcus Smart is a great fit on the Grizzlies, but the only times I don't like it is when I think of it in the context of the idea of this being, was this our big move that like we've been waiting for years? Mm-hmm. And when I think of it in the context of like, we traded that Warriors first round pick, that top 4 protected Warriors first rounder in 2024 that we've been holding forever. It's like, we made Andre Iguodala mad for this. We like did all stuff like we've had so much, we went through so much stuff like to get this pick. And it was always like years ago, it was, man, we got the Jazz 22 pick. We got the Lakers 23 pick. We got like, it was always like, you're always counting your future assets. And it's like, one day we could trade all those picks and we could get whoever. And it was like, we could get Jaylen Brown if we traded all these picks. So like, and then as the years went by, and this happens for everybody, like heads up, Sam Presti, like this happens for everybody, that you eventually you start using those picks and you're like, we used 2 of our picks on Jake LaRavia. And then it's like, fast forward. All right, now we finally made our trade and we sent 2 future picks and Tyus Jones for Marcus Smart. And you're like, that's okay. But like, it's not like it's not like you get super excited about it. And then when you further like draw the view back and you're like, so a year after we traded DeAnthony Melton for David Roddy, we then traded Tyus Jones and 2 firsts for a better Melton in Marcus Smart. And it's like Melton plus Tyus Jones plus 2 firsts for Roddy and Smart. Like, that's kind of it feels like a lateral move, not like a super. It's like we like, I think getting Marcus Smart made us better, but only because we made ourselves worse last offseason. Mm-hmm. And so like, again, when you, this is like podcaster brain problems where like when you cover the team like daily or multiple times a week for years and you remember back to, all right, trade deadline of 2022, it was like, all right, we're going to have cap space. We're going to have 3 extra picks. We have Melton and we have Brooks and we have Tyus Jones, and those are all tradable contracts. And we have these guys and these guys. And if we package all that together, we can get all that stuff. And now you're like, Tyus Jones is gone. Dylan Brooks is gone. Kyle Anderson, he left. D'Anthony Melton, he's gone. Brandon Clarke's injured. And all of the extra picks we had, that became Marcus Smart and Jake LaRavia. And it's like, cause I'm generally optimistic, but I do get criticized. We're like, hey, you're kind of down on the Grizzlies a lot. And I'm like, I'm not really. Like, I don't think I am. Like, if you're telling me you went back in time 2 years ago in the middle of the 2022 season, and you're like, hey, guess what? Going into the 2023-2024 season, Ja Morant's going to be suspended 25 games. Brandon Clarke's going to have a torn Achilles. And all of our bench that we're so proud of, and Dylan Brooks and all of our draft picks turned into Marcus Smart and Jake LaRavia, you would not be happy. You would be like, what?
Yeah.
Like that. We didn't get anything. We thought we were adding Pascal Siakam or OG Anunoby or whoever else. We thought we were going to trade all of our future picks for these things. And now we don't have any extra future picks going forward. The Grizzlies still have their own picks. Like they could still trade, but like you no longer have that. I'm super optimistic for our bright future. The bright future is the guys you have in house. You have Ja Morant, you have Desmond Bane, you have Jaren Jackson Jr. Honestly, like no other teams probably have as good of a young core, or, you can argue a few like maybe the Thunder or the Pelicans or whatever, but like we're still have all these great things and we still have a bright future because of that. But my pushback is like, yeah, but I had those things 2 years ago. Like I already had those things. I thought I was getting those things and more. And now you're telling me, what about Marcus Smart? Like, okay, that's kind of fun. Like he's pretty good. But it's no longer this like, oh my God, we're going to be a dynasty. It's now like, yeah, we should be competitive. We got a chance, we got a chance to make the conference finals. Probably. We're not a favorite by any stretch of the imagination, but when healthy, we should be able to basically face down with anybody, and we're going to be underdogs to the best teams, but like, that's fine. I don't know. It's just like, I know I've been going on for a real long time now, but it's just like the change of perspective where it's like, it used to be so optimistic. And now I'm like talking myself into, yeah, this is why the Marcus Smart trade's good.
Yeah, I don't think that's unique to you. I can remember Dan and I specifically talking about, the Grizzlies are so primed. Like, look at all this young talent they have. It's so projectable, and they have all this stuff. What are they going to turn that into? And like you say, it's Marcus Smart.